Hi everyone, welcome to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking all about how I got my baby to stop fighting her naps. Evelyn is currently 5 months. She's just about to turn 6 months, and she is a great napper now. She goes down almost always without a fight. She'll just go to sleep within seconds, 10 minutes of putting her down. So today we want to talk all about what was helpful in order to help her do better with naps. And I did mention a couple of these things in my 4-month sleep regression video, but I just wanted to make a video dedicated to nap time since they were such a struggle for us, especially early on in the early months, and now that we're almost at 6 months, we've got a really good routine going on. So hopefully this is helpful to you. If you enjoy it and want to see more videos like this, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing if you're new. And let's go ahead and get started with the first tip. Tip number 1 is to make sure you're following age-appropriate wake windows. Wake windows are just the amount of time your baby can go between sleeping. So how long they can stay awake, happily functioning before they get tired or overtired and overstimulated and just grumpy and difficult to put down for a nap. So you want to make sure you find kind of that sweet spot for your baby so that when you're putting them down for a nap, they are legitimately tired, but they're not too overtired. After about 3 months of age, it's important to start looking at the wake windows instead of only going off of your baby's sleepy cues. This is something I didn't know, and I was used to just going off of, whenever she started yawning or rubbing her eyes, I would know, okay, I need to quickly get her for a nap, because when they're newborns, that's true. You do want to go off of their sleepy cues, primarily because they are legitimately tired, ready for a nap. But once they get about 3 months, it's time to start extending those wake windows. And I didn't really know that, so I was still trying to put her down for a nap right around that 60-minute mark for a little bit until I realized she was really fighting her naps. And I realized I needed to start extending how long she was awake for, and that I could not just go off of her sleepy cues. Before, if she looked sleepy, yeah, I just put her right down. But now she was fighting her naps, so you want to start looking at not only their sleepy cues, but also checking the clock, have they been awake for the appropriate amount of time? And then, because sometimes after about 3 months, your baby will also just yawn and rub their eyes when they're bored with their current activity. And then it's time to just, move them to another room, change up the environment, and they're good to go again for however long they need to stay awake. The other thing you can check is how many hours per 24 hours your baby needs per day of sleep. So however much your baby is sleeping during the night, they need to also sleep a certain amount of time over 24 hours. So you can just subtract their nighttime sleep from that amount and see how much they need to be sleeping for their naps, like how many hours per day. Obviously, babies aren't robots, and sometimes they're going to wake up early from a nap, and that's totally fine. But it just kind of gives you an idea of, okay, this is about how much my baby probably should be sleeping during the day. I also wanted to note that it may take a while to extend those wake windows. If you look up the wake windows, and by the way, you can find those online for free, like just Google your baby's age and wake window, and it's going to tell you. There's a lot of different resources, but I will mention a resource that I go off of later on in the video if you're looking for one source to follow. But it may take a while. If you're at like that 45 to 60 minute mark for the wake windows after that newborn stage and you're needing to extend it, you can try to extend it by about 15 minutes a day to kind of gradually move your baby into longer wake windows. But it may still take a couple weeks for your baby to adjust to that. And so for a time, at least with mine, she was pretty fussy and she was a bit tired as we were trying to extend that wake period. So just give your baby grace, give yourself grace, because it might take a little bit for them to adjust to staying awake longer. And so there may be a little bit of a rough patch, a little bit of a fussy time until she or he has adjusted to that. Tip number 2 is, if you aren't already, to try out having a consistent nap time routine. I did mention this in my 4-month sleep regression video, but this one is really important because it really just kind of signals to your baby's brain that sleep is coming. So it doesn't have to be anything complicated. You don't need to spend how much time you spend for like their bedtime routine. Our nap time routine is so simple. I do feed my baby. If she hasn't eaten in a while, I do feed her before her nap. But then after that, I change her diaper, and then really what it is just turning down the lights, turning on her sound machine, putting her in her sleep sack, and I also will just like sing her a little song and rock her for a little while before putting her into the crib. And I think that is honestly, that and the sound machine is a big thing. Like she knows when I sing her a little song, like it's the same before bedtime, she starts yawning. Like that has it now means to her, bedtime or nap time is coming. So yeah, really simple, it takes like 5 minutes, 10 at the max. So if you aren't already, I do recommend trying out a nap time routine if naps are a struggle for you. Tip number 3 was a huge one for us. I had no idea about this. It never even occurred that this could be an issue. But I learned this from Taking Care of Babies. You can follow her on Instagram at Taking Care of Babies. And she has some paid classes, but also so many free tips on her Instagram. So I learned this one from her. She shares it over there on her Instagram account along with so many other free tips. But if nap time is a struggle and your baby is fighting those naps, something to consider is, are they dozing during their pre-nap feeding? If you are like me and you feed your baby before they go to sleep, kind of top them off. In other words, if they're dozing or they're kind of snoozing through that feeding, that can just wipe out any tiredness. It's kind of like taking a power nap. Like if you take a power nap, you're good to go for a little bit. It's the same with your baby. So this was huge. I had no idea. I was literally feeding her and I'd see her dozing and kind of drifting in and out of sleep, and I thought, oh good, I've hit that sweet spot. She's tired. Like when I finish this up and I lay her down, she is going to be so tired and fall right asleep. But that was never the case. I was like, what in the world? Every time I'm like feeding her, she's sleepy, and then suddenly she's awake. And I thought it was feeding her that made her awake, but no, it was that she was dozing and she was getting a little bit of sleep, and that was all she needed to bring on more energy. I will say, if you want your baby to sleep in your arms, or you prefer to rock and maybe nurse or feed your baby to sleep, then obviously I'm not talking about that. That is totally fine too. However, whatever's working for you and your baby is the right way. This is just if you're struggling and you are wanting to put your baby down in the crib or bassinet to sleep, but they're not going to sleep and they're fighting it. This might be something to consider. I definitely have times where I let my baby sleep in my arms for her nap. Like if she hasn't slept well during the day and I want her to get good sleep, because sleep is so important for babies. So if I know she hasn't napped well all day, like she wakes up early from her naps, I will definitely let her sleep in my arms to get a good long length of sleep. Or if I just want those baby snuggles, then for sure I'm going to let her fall asleep in my arms. So there's nothing wrong with that, for sure. I do it, but this is for if you're wanting to be able to just set your baby down and get some things done and have them go to sleep. This is something to consider. So if they are dozing, try to like tickle their feet, talk to them, whatever it takes to kind of keep them from going fully into sleep. So keep them awake as fully as possible, but sometimes, they're going to close their eyes still, but I just keep like tickling her feet. And then when that nap time rolls around, she is out. I mean, she is ready for it because she did not get a power nap in while feeding. And I do try to feed my baby. If she hasn't eaten in a while, I will feed her about 15 to 20 minutes before a nap. And I do find that does extend her nap times. So, but if you really can't keep your baby awake during it and this is an issue, you could try feeding them even earlier, like maybe 30 minutes before. So if they do doze a little bit, they might be tired again before the nap time. I also want to say we don't follow a strict schedule at all. When I'm referring to nap time, I'm just talking about when she's been awake for that full wake period. And now that she's about 5 months old, she stays awake for about 2 to 3 hours between naps. So that's what I'm referring to when I say nap time. We're pretty flexible. We have a flexible routine. So just gonna throw that out there. Okay, tip number 4 is to black out the room, or at least put them in a dark room to sleep. This one I really didn't take seriously. Yeah, so this one I really didn't take that seriously until more recent times. I used to put her down in our room to sleep in her bassinet before moving her to our nursery, and it is so bright in there. We have white curtains, and I feel like the sun, when it hits the curtains, it just makes the room shining bright. And I would lay her down and expect her to be tired and go to sleep, but I mean, it was so bright in there. I wouldn't want to really sleep in there myself when I thought about it. So once I moved her to the nursery, it was a much darker environment and sleeping became much easier for her. You may not need to make it pitch dark in there, but for my baby, I have actually made it 100% pitch black in the nursery, and it took some work to do that, some DIY. If you're interested, I'll make a dedicated video on how to 100% black out your nursery. It wasn't that hard, it just took some research. But we struggle with some early morning waking still, and I think this is the culprit, so I've been working on getting 100% blackout achieved in there, and I have finally gotten that. Anyways, have it be darker in there. It will definitely make a big difference if nap times are a struggle. Something to consider. Again, this is just if naps are a struggle. If your baby sleeps fine in bright rooms or not super dark rooms, that's totally fine. My baby, I found, just struggled to get sleepy in that environment, and having a dark room really did make a difference. Okay, so this last thing is just more of a bonus tip. If you've tried all these things already and you're like, none of them have really made a difference, then something else you might want to add is to make sure your baby's awake times are as active as possible. Obviously, we all, we have busy days, we have things that come up. Sometimes your baby's awake time is going to be in the car seat or the swing because you need to get something done. It happens. Sometimes you have to put your baby in the bouncy chair, and so they're not really moving around a whole lot. So, but just when you can, I do think it makes a difference if my baby is active, rolling around, moving around, playing, able to be active on the floor in her play mat. So that definitely helps her, I think, sleep better. But like I said, you can't always do this. We have stuff going on, things we need to do. But if nap times are a real struggle for you, you could try making sure they're as active as possible whenever possible. Thank you all so much for watching today's video. Hopefully these tips were helpful to you, and hopefully you'll get subscribed if you want to see more videos just like this. Please let me know in the comments if you have any other video requests, and we will see you very soon in the next one. Can you say bye?